What's up, y'all? It's Josh. I'm back. This is February the 26th, this Sunday, the last week of February. I hope y'all have had a great month. Hope y'all had a great week this past week. This week, I'm going to be talking about growth, spiritual growth, and growth overall as a person, mentally and emotionally as well. It's going to be good. Going to be a short one today, but I hope you all get something from it. I'm excited. Let's go through the intro, and I'll get right into it. What's up, everybody? It's Josh. I'm back. Like I said, this week I'm talking about growth. I'm talking about growth spiritually. I'm talking about growth emotionally, mentally. I'm talking about growth overall in life as Christians, as just humans, as people. And this week I'm focusing on two specific verses. I'm focusing on Luke 8:14 and 15. Verse 14 says this: "The seed that fell among thorns stands for those who hear, but as they go on their way, they are choked by life's worries, riches, and pleasures, and they do not mature." Verse 15 says, "But the seed on good soil stands for those with a noble and good heart, who hear the word, retain it, and by persevering produce a crop." This is a verse that I'm pretty sure some of us have heard either in church or, at school, possibly if you went to a Christian school. Maybe your parents, your grandparents, somebody has spoken about this verse or this section of verses in the Gospel of Luke. And it talks about this specifically. It talks about different kinds of soil, and the different kinds of soil. This is a parable that speaks about us as people, and the seed that fell among thorns. It's talking about people who they hear the word, but as they try to live it out, they go on their way, and life chokes out the word that they heard. It chokes out their hopes. It chokes out the dreams that God has put in their heart, all those different things, whether it be, like it says here, the worries of life, riches and pleasures of life cause you to forsake or forget what God has given you or the word that you have heard, and they never mature. That's what I want to focus on today: the maturity, the growth. And then verse 15, it talks about Christians, or it talks about those who apply their hearings, apply the teachings of God. It talks about, the good soil. And it says that they have a noble and good heart. They hear the word, they retain it, they hold it within them. They don't allow the world or other people to stop them from growing in it. And they produce a crop. They preserve the word that they have heard, the seed they have received, and they produce a crop in the end. And when it comes to growth, I want to focus on different kinds of growth. This is something I could talk about for multiple weeks, but growth, there are different kinds of growth, and there are different seasons and different ways that we grow. One of the ways would be from a spiritual side of things. Growing up in church, I've heard it said multiple times this way, saying that, your growth as a Christian is discipleship, making disciples. And I've always heard people say, "Don't tell me you're mature if you can't show me who you're maturing. If you can't show me who you're pouring into and who you're bringing to the faith and their growth, don't tell me that you're growing. Because if you were growing, those who follow you would grow as well, because they would apply or go or follow what it is that you're doing or the life that you're living." And I agree with that wholeheartedly. And it's a struggle. It's a hard thing sometimes, because as humans, we fall, and there are issues that all of us have. And to hear that sometimes, it was hard to say, "Hey, Josh, you're not growing," or, "Hey, this person, you're not growing," because I don't see who it is that is growing with you or growing behind you. But that's part of growth from the spiritual sense, is being able to make disciples or lead people to God, being able to evangelize, to minister, not even from a pulpit, but it may just be at your job, it may be on the street, it may be at school, it may be in a classroom, it may be wherever, it may be at the gym playing basketball, working out, whatever it may be, being able to pour into somebody else. That's part of our maturity. That's part of growth from a spiritual side. Another part of growth from a spiritual side would be within ourselves, stewardship, being able to steward what it is that God has given us, being a good manager of what it is that God has given us, whether that be our gift, whether that be our finances, whether that be relationships, family, whatever it is, our education, all of these different things, the possessions that we have, being able to steward those things. Once we're able to steward things on one level, it will move us to the next level. That's growth, and God will start to multiply our gifts and multiply the things that we have, because we've shown him that we can handle what we already have got. Like in the parable of the 10 talents, he who was given 5 was given another 5, because he was able to manage what he already was given, versus the one who was given 1 talent and he went and buried it. It was taken away from him because he never managed it. And That's another form of growth. Another form of growth, something I feel like, two forms of growth that I feel like I'm going through right now are growth with people and growth away from people. Sometimes it takes separation from our comfort in order to grow. Sometimes, in order to see growth or in order to change, we need to be separated from that which caused us to be comfortable with where we're at. Sometimes we have contentment with a place that isn't of God, or contentment in an area that God wants us to grow past because we're too comfortable in a situation with somebody who tolerates or who is okay with the level that we're at and doesn't encourage us or prod us or just hold us accountable to move to that next level. And sometimes it takes separation from those people. Sometimes it takes growing apart. Sometimes it's a hard cutoff. I talked to my mom about this earlier this week. But sometimes it just time. It takes time, and you start to grow apart from somebody. And as you start to grow apart from somebody, you start to see growth in your own life, and they may start to see growth in their own life because the two of you were so comfortable with each other. There was a level of comfort where you didn't feel like you needed to change, and it caused you to stay in the same place. And when you stayed in the same place, it became stagnant. It became a situation where you didn't feel fulfilled. Why? Because you were in a situation where comfort negated your growth. You were in a situation where just being okay was fine. So it negated your ability to excel. It negated your ability to move forward. That's growth in separation. There's also growth in groups. There's growth in relationships, whether it be friendships, whether it be romantic relationships, whether it be a mentor, whatever it is, there's growth in the relationship because of the relationship, as I touched on earlier. You're maturing, or the other person is maturing, or the both of you all are maturing because you're looking at each other, and you and the other person are holding each other accountable. I have friends here in school, and I have some friends back home, and you can see because of their group, either they're growing or they're dying. My mom always said it, and I'm pretty sure you've heard this said, show me your friend, I'll show you your future. And it's very true. Regardless of how gullible or how non-gullible you may be, to some extent, the people that you hang around will influence you. And if the people that you hang around are not growing, or they're just speaking and not doing, or the people that you're hanging around are in a situation where they're comfortable with where they're at, or they're comfortable with each other, so they don't encourage each other to move, whether that be just moving in the physical sense or in the spiritual sense, it causes you and it causes the other people in those groups to stay in the same place. We never grow sometimes because we're in the wrong relationships, and we need to separate from those relationships, which takes discernment and takes time. Or we don't grow because we're not applying the amount of time, the amount of effort that we should into the good relationships we have. Your relationships will either cause you to die, they will cause you to grow. They will either cause you to go downhill, or they will cause you to go uphill. They will either cause you to be demoted or promoted. They will either cause you to move forward or take steps backward. Your relationships are very important, whether that be on any level. From a mentor, it's the family members you hang around, the people that you allow to pour into you, the ministers or whatnot that you have in your life, the adults in your life, your friends, your romantic partner, whoever it is. The relationships that you have will dictate your trajectory in life to a great degree, a very great degree. And in our growth, we have to understand that. For example, I still want to touch back on verse 15. It talks about those who have a noble and good heart, those who hear the word, they retain it, and they preserve it and produce a crop. In order to produce a crop, in order to grow, you have to water things. Watering comes from outside. What I'm saying is, for example, when you're growing crops, if you've ever looked at, farmers, and they have irrigation, they have the water that is sweeping over the top of the crops. You have to have something from the outside that's pouring into the word, which would be on the inside of our heart. If we don't have the proper relationships, there'll be nobody to pour into it. And eventually we'll either stay in the same place or we'll take steps backward. On verse 14, it talks about life's worries, which can be the stresses of different relationships and different people, riches and pleasures, those people who, because of what they provide materially or physically, it causes you to forget the spiritual and the material and the other emotional and mental growth that you would have, because you're too worried about these small things that this person provides, and they don't mature. Those people who are too worried about those things and who devote too much value to those things, they don't mature. And so in growth, it's important to make sure that you're in the right relationships, and if you're not in the right relationships, to understand who it is that you will grow apart from or need to grow apart from, who it is that doesn't need to be in your life because they don't cause growth, they don't allow for maturity because they cause you or hold you to be stagnant. And also understanding what type of soil you are and asking God to turn you into whatever type of soil you need to be, the good soil. If you're not that soil, asking God to make that your situation and make that your heart. Like I said, it was going to be short today, 10 minutes. I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope you all got something from it. I'll see y'all next week.